In this lesson, we'll take a look at using FiberMesh to add some hair to our character. So let's say that we want to add a little bit more detail to this guy in the form of some fur or some hair. And this applies to any model that you have. If you want to add a long hair, or if you want kind of a buzz cut on your character, FiberMesh is going to be a great solution for you to do that here in ZBrush. So let's take a look at how this works. The first thing that I'll show you is just this BPR button. We'll talk more about rendering later on, but to get the full effect of the FiberMesh, we want to render it out. So to hit this BPR is going to just create a nicer rendered image here in our canvas. So you can see here we have some nice shadows and so forth, and that'll make the FiberMesh look a lot better. Okay. Now once you start to come in here and move around, that best preview render goes away. So to see it again, you just need to click that button one more time. Okay, so the first thing that we'll do is let's add some fuzz kind of over the entire surface of this guy. So we'll go into FiberMesh, and we've got this subtool selected. Make sure that we do. Yep. And so we'll go into FiberMesh, and let's do a preview. So we'll turn on preview, and you can see all these little fibers coming off of this guy. So now what we want to do is go into the modifiers and edit the settings for these to get the effect that we want. Let's go ahead and render and just see what it looks like right off the bat. So we'll go ahead and hit that BPR button and render what those fibers are looking like right now. So you can see it's just these kind of gray fibers. They're coming off everywhere on the body, and they're sort of pretty long. What we want to do is shorten them up a little bit. So let's go into our modifiers. There's a lot of options in here. The first thing that I want to do is take the length down. So the length value is going to be right here. So let's go ahead and decrease our length. Okay. Take it down a little bit more. I also want to take down this modulate by face area. So I'm going to take that down by 0 so that we get kind of a consistent length. I'll go ahead and take that length down even a little bit more. So maybe set it to something like 30, 25 or 30. You can also change the variation because you don't really want all of the fiber to be the same length. So you can change that variation. The higher variation number, the more variation you're going to have. We can also take down the maximum number of fibers if we want to make it a little bit more sparse. Okay, I can take my coverage down a little bit so they're kind of a little bit thinner. Okay, we've also got some revolve options here. If we want to create curly hair, there's gravity, so you can choose for the hair to be affected by gravity or not. These are little hairs, so I'm going to turn gravity down a little bit. Now you can see straight away that the hairs are coming out of the lips in certain areas where we don't necessarily want the little hair to come out of. And so what we can do is mask off those areas. So we'll go to solo, and let's create a mask for this area. So I'm going to come in and I'm just going to mask off areas in here that I don't want to be affected. And we'll eventually come in and invert this. So if you want to, you could mask everything off and unmask the areas that you don't want affected. It's basically the fur is going to eventually grow out of the areas that are masked. So I should probably go and invert that just so visually it makes more sense. And then I can hold down Control and Alt, and instead of masking, I'm now unmasking. Or I could do the whole thing and then invert it, either way. Okay, so also kind of probably up here, we don't want that hair to come out of that area on the eye. Probably also not inside the eye, not that we'd see it. Probably also not kind of right on the nose there. Okay, so basically the mask is going to be where we want that fiber to be able to grow from. Okay, I also don't want fiber to grow out of this area, so I'm going to come down here and unmask this. Do the same thing over here. So let me pause the video here as I unmask this. All right, there's a rough mask there that's kind of defining where we want the fur to go, or the hair. So again, we'll turn on preview, and this time the settings that we've created will only be showing from the masked areas. Okay, and here you can say we can modulate by masking. It's set to 1. If I dial that down all the way, you can see it's not paying any attention to the masking. And so I'm going to go ahead and set this to 1. And let's turn down our max fibers just a little bit. So I don't think I want quite that many for this base here. Turn down the coverage a little bit. I just want a hint of hair, and we can go ahead and render that and kind of see what that is going to look like. So you can kind of see those little hairs there. Okay, and I think I want to take that down even a little bit more, and let's also take the length down a little bit. Okay, so once we're happy with the result, we can actually turn this into a subtool. We do that by clicking Accept. Okay, it's going to ask us about fast preview mode. If you have a lot of fibers, it's going to enable you to move around a little bit better and preview what it's going to look like. It's going to kind of show you maybe not all of the fibers. We can activate that. That's fine. And so now we go into our subtools. We can see that we have a fiber subtool. That's what it looks like. Okay, so now let's get a material. We can get one of these hair materials and a color. And let's go ahead and fill that fiber with that material color. Okay, I'm going to turn off solo and then render that again. And you can kind of see that fur, just a little hint of that fur. Now let's create something a little bit more drastic. So again, back on our base model here, let's clear the mask, and I'll turn off this fiber for now. Now let's create some eyebrows. So I'm just going to real quickly mask out an area where I want this hair to come out of. Let's do the same thing over here. And let's also give him kind of a comb over. So I'll create some hair coming out from kind of this side. All right, so with that selected, let's go ahead and activate our FiberMesh once again. And it's going to turn on with the settings that we had before. So what I want to do is increase the length of our FiberMesh. I also want to increase the segments. So the segments are what's going to allow it to curve. You can see the more segments, then that gravity is really affecting it. So I'll turn gravity down a little bit. I also want to come in here and change the revolve rate to make it a little curlier. And let me take the length down a little bit because we can lengthen this a little bit later on. Okay. We can increase the maximum number of fibers so it's a little bit thicker. Maybe something like 9 or 10. Just do a quick BPR. Now it's not going to be flowing in the right direction, but we can change that with our grooming brushes. So there we get some kind of interesting fibers there. So let's go ahead and, for sake of time, let's go ahead and accept that. We can activate that or not. We're not working with too many fibers here. So now at this point we can come in here. Let's add our color. So we'll fill it. Now we want to actually groom this. So let's grab a groom brush. So you can see the groom brushes are up here. I'll just go ahead and get this groom brush 1. And now what we can do is start to come up here and just kind of comb this up. Okay, so we can come in here and start to do that. There's a lot of different brushes that allow you to do different things here. The groom toss is good. There's groom hair long. There's a bunch of different options. Groom turbulence to add a little bit of noise to it. Okay. We'll go ahead and select this groom toss, and that'll allow you to kind of come in here and I just want this to kind of go back up and just kind of point in a particular direction. I don't want to really want to get too crazy with making it perfect, We'll just come in here and start to groom this kind of up here. Not make it too perfect. Kind of same thing here. I want it to be kind of wild. Here we can groom this up, but I actually want to also lengthen it. And so there's the ability to groom lengthen, and this will allow us, as we pull it and groom it, we can actually make it a bit longer. Okay, so we can kind of lengthen this hair as we groom it. So I don't want it again to be too perfect, but I'll make it a little bit longer. Then we'll go back to our groom toss. Just create kind of a wild look for it. We can also color it. Okay, I can come in and smooth this out, kind of eliminate some of that. We can also color it, so if I want to do like a gray on the tips, you can come in and mask it based on the tip or the root. So we've got groom color mid, groom color root, groom color tip. So I can come in here and paint just the tips of the hair. So you can actually poly paint your fiber as well. So I want to give it kind of a gray color, let's say, on the tips. We can kind of groom that. Okay. So let's do a BPR and see what that looks like. So that gives you this hair that's kind of combed. If you want to add maybe a little bit more turbulence to it, you can come in and kind of mess it up a little. And there's a lot of different grooming brushes that you can use. We can come in here and add a little bit of noise to it. You know, and if you're not happy with it, all you have to do is go back to your original subtool, do that preview again with your FiberMesh, and change the settings. Okay, and then you'll have to go back in and regroom it. But it's not a lot of work to get something that looks really good just here in ZBrush without having to go into any other kind of fiber solution. Okay, probably want to mess that up a little bit more.